It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
And we are live. Welcome to Car con Carne. I'm James Van Alstyne. And every show that's done in the car through the holiday season will be recorded at Buona locations in the city, in the suburbs, all over the place. And let's be honest, this holiday season, every holiday season is indulgent. If you and beef need to take some time away from one another, Buona has you covered. They have this mind-blowing plant-based Italian beefless sandwich. It's vegan. It's made from seitan, and it's a total exclusive to Buona. Get it with hot giardiniera. That's the Chicago way. And you can take 10% off your mobile order or online order with the promo code Carne10. So this is Car con Carne. I'm doing this one from home, not at a Buona. I'm James Van Alstyne, and the holidays can feel weird for people who don't drink. There's a routine, there's a ritual around drinking, and sometimes non-drinkers can feel detached. There's a stigma there. And I always recommend to people who want to drink but not drink that they try one of Well Being's craft NA beers. Purpose brewed, better for you, craft beer. This brewery was launched 5 years ago. And joining me tonight is the founder. He is Jeff Stevens. And I welcome you to the show. In fact, I'm welcoming you with one of your own.
I love
places.
It.
I think this is my favorite. I mean, if I had to
going
choose
places.
One,
oh, good.
This is always refreshing. I love this one. Tell me what I'm drinking before we even get into the business. Tell me
it's a East Coast style IPA. This brewer named Mitch Steele, who, if you go search how to brew IPAs on Amazon, he actually wrote a book. And he was the former brewer at Stone. He'd been at Anheuser-Busch. So he has made his name brewing IPAs. And we did a partnership with his new brewery called New Realm out in Virginia Beach, is where we manufacture or brew some of our beer. And so we wanted him to inaugurate our manufacturing machine. And we can talk about what these things do. But anyway, so that's where this beer came from, the East Coast of the United States. And we called it Going Places because I thought it was appropriate coming out of the pandemic, which has kind of stopped and kind of started and kind of stopped, that we would all be going places. But, maybe whatever. It sounds like we're still doing it a little bit.
We're still doing it a little bit. I'm getting ahead of myself, Jeff, but the Hellraiser, I think, is also a showstopper. The Dark Amber. I
drink that all the time. That's my go-to. Yep.
I think this is a Dark Amber beer for people who think they don't like Dark Amber beer. This goes down really easy.
Ooh, good one.
Because I think people are
Dark Amber.
People are think it's going to be too heavy or just be thick and heavy and too much flavor. But this is just perfect.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it was right when I tasted it, and I had to go on the craft beer drinking journey like people, because I didn't drink for so long that when I left drinking, we drank, lagers and really cheap ones at that. So by the time I started drinking real craft beers, I was the one making them. And I didn't know what a Dark Amber tasted like. And then, you taste this, you're like, oh my God, it's so interesting. And then you taste IPA and you can't, it's like, wow, that's really, I had that coffee cream stout. I'd never had a stout until I had my own. So it's fun to go on this journey, with just what craft beer drinkers have been on. So I agree. The Hellraiser is a perfect, a little hoppy, very smooth, very refreshing still, but has really good with food. I'm glad you like it because you seem to be obviously someone who knows where to get a beef sandwich and even a non-beef sandwich. It sounds like
100%, 100%. Yeah. And you kind of touch on this before the craft beer movement. For decades, non-alcoholic beer, it was never sexy. And it really wasn't good necessarily for decades running. So I talked about the stigma when I started this interview. There's always been a weird stigma if you don't drink, but non-alcoholic beer was kind of stigmatized because it just wasn't good. I'm not imagining that, am I?
No. It's funny you say that because I worked in the beer industry as a marketing person for a long time. So I knew how they made the non-alcoholic beers they were making, and they were all basically done for the legal department would say, hey, we need this social responsibility program. Don't drink and drive. So let's make the cheapest, least ingredient beers we can, and we'll put them and make them non-alcoholic because we have to do this. And they never cared about what the beer tasted like. They just weren't part of their business. So it was always, when you talk to the guys now who made these beers, the O'Douls of the world is the perfect example. And I have a love, I have a fondness love because it's so bad that it's just like so bad that it just set the bar for this entire industry. But I drank a ton of it, because that's all there was. Like, that's what you're drinking.
Right.
If you're going out at night, I'd rather have that than 12 Coca-Colas. So we had a very, very low bar when we got into this business. We're like, if we can just be better than this. And we started to brew with great ingredients, really high end technology, and like, wow, all of a sudden you're brewing unbelievable beer. But the non-alcoholic beer space was, you did something wrong that you have to drink this beer. Something's wrong in your life,
Yes.
Like, what's going on? Why did you screw up so bad that you have to drink this beer? you sad person, was kind of the reaction you would get all the time.
And there is what you're doing with Well Being could not have happened if not for the craft beer movement.
Yes, agreed.
I would just, the interest and the attention to flavors and profiles, non-alcoholic beer could not have risen to this
without a doubt
had that not happened. So you launched this business 5 years ago. I hope I said that correctly at the beginning.
It was 2016 is when we started doing. I think we got our first beer in 2018. So it's been about 3 years, but yeah, it took a while to figure it all out before you get to an actual first beer.
Can we talk about, I'm sure you've told the story time and again, but can we talk about what led you to, because I'm sure people told you along the way, are you serious? You're nuts. You can't do this. Good luck. Yes. I'm sure there are a lot of people throwing up barriers along the way.
And I would say it was really fun. I had a lot of good friends, and I still am in the world of recovery. And so I have a lot of non-drinking friends just socially, but I was also in the world of alcohol marketing. So I have lots of drinking friends. But everyone on both sides of the coin were like, you're going to do what? You're going to take alcohol out of, why would you want to do that? We're really worried about you. I had a couple friends that were seriously sat me down and like, this is you're putting a lot of capital into this, a lot of whatever. But I knew for me, I had been in this situation hundreds of times where I was a completely underserved market. When you walk into any bar, any restaurant, and as a non-drinker, there's three choices and they're all bad. And so I'm like, well, there's got to be, if there was a better choice for us, we'd buy it. It's not about money. We'd love to spend the same amount of money as everyone else and have something good. So I knew I was a market, and I hoped that there was other people, and it just turns out that this movement sort of started happening. So it worked out, and it's a hot category now.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, you go to any liquor store. I mean, here in the Chicago area, Binny's is omnipresent, and NA has its own. I mean, it's not an end cap; it is an aisle at this point, and it's stunning to see. And there's good stuff there, and it's amazing to see some of the big players swinging around to this.
Yep, they finally are, and they're putting real capital and technology and trying to brew really good versions of this, which I think has helped the category tremendously. What I think we're finding out, which I don't think anyone really knew. I knew there were people like me out there that didn't drink and just wanted a decent beer at a bar, or there's now people. I think everyone is starting to mix us in their drinking sessions. And that sort of means that the market is unlimited, or it's much bigger than anyone saw, because we get emails all the time where, if you go out drinking on a Wednesday night and you usually have 4 IPAs, but if you start with ours, and that's the easiest one, it goes down the fastest, and you build that base, the other 3 go down a little slower, and you've already built you know what I'm saying? So you don't drink as much, but you have the exact same experience. You're not quite as hungover. You're not quite as tired. I mean, all that kind of stuff we start to see. And I think that's where this market just is a really big one and has a lot of potential.
I totally agree. And that's usually what I tell people. I mean, it's not just for people in recovery. It's not just,
Oh yeah.
I don't drink, here's what I need. But I mean, I kind of preach the opposite of what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Start with your beer. If you're out,
Yeah.
if you're a designated driver,
Yep.
start with your, 7% IPA.
Yep.
And then, you're going to be spending the rest of the night out and about. Switch over.
Yep.
So, get it going and then let it fizzle out. And as you're doing that, still have great taste going down your mouth.
Yeah.
Well,
that we brewed that Victory Wheat has more electrolytes in it than Gatorade. And that electrolyte mix we got from a company that created it. Yep. To prevent hangovers. That was the original product. Was you get hungover because you're not hydrated enough, and that causes a lot of the hangover. So if you use that as your last beer, it helps with the hangover the next morning. So it's really interesting
Genius.
to say that. Yeah, it's perfect. And I agree. Like, yeah, mix this in is the whole idea. Exactly.
Well, and I mentioned this, the stigma. If you're not drinking and you're out and about, I mean, I'm in Chicago. I mean, every corner has an old style sign.
Yeah.
Beer is a part of what this city is. So if you don't have something in your hand, you kind of, I mean, I guess it's on you if you feel uncomfortable, but you do feel uncomfortable if you don't have a drink. And there's a ritual to it all. Yeah. And I think this completely cuts that off at the knees.
I'm with you. And I can't tell you how many countless times I was out with people and everyone would go around the table and order something interesting and have a question for the bartender. And here's a cocktail and they're going to talk about this. And they'd get to me and I would order a day old coffee that's been sitting there, or,
right.
Oh yeah, there might be a dusty non-alcoholic beer somewhere in our basement. Let me go look.
Or how about a Virgin Mary?
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, everyone at the table is feeling like, oh, is it okay if we drink in front of you and you can't communicate to them that, yes, it's fine if you drink in front of me, go right ahead. I'm happy to drive you home. So I agree. Like if you can order an intentional IPA or an Hellraiser, it just says to everyone like, loose, I'm here with you. We're all just here together having a good time. There's no weirdness at all. It takes that off the table. Yeah. I'm with you.
For someone who doesn't drink NA beer, and if someone wants to sit down with one of the Well Being beers, I think that the strangest thing they'll encounter is they'll, like, if they're day drinking, they're having an IPA with lunch, there's no weird feeling afterward. I mean, we've all had beer in the afternoon where after you're done, you kind of have that low throbbing headache and you feel sluggish. The fact that you feel none of that after, it's almost a disconnect. Your brain has a hard time if you're a drinker. Once you get past that, awesome. But it is, I think, a strange sensation to have a beer that tastes like actual craft beer, but not all those effects afterwards.
That's so interesting that you say that. And because there's a physiological reaction, your brain, when you drink beer, even our beer, you drink a non-alcoholic beer, your brain is going to release the same endorphins it would release if you're drinking alcohol beer, because it says, oh, we're going to be drinking now. This is going to be a fun thing. So it just releases these endorphins. So you get kind of this initial rush as you would if you just had your first beer. But then that afterward, the hour later, after you're going back to the office, where you would normally feel sluggish and like, I had a beer at lunch, I don't know if that was the best thing for my afternoon. That's gone, right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
Like, what happened here? Your body's like, wait, we're supposed to be sluggish, and
I can't reconcile this in my brain. It's so strange. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the products.
Okay. I'd love to hear your story. How did you get to this product? What was going on with you where you decided you needed to try these NA beers, or what was going on?
I wanted alternatives, and I knew that honestly the NA category was blowing up. I'm like, I need to start trying stuff because I don't want to have a beer every time I go out, every time I go to a show. Yeah. It's just I'm at a certain age and at a certain point in my life, I'm like, I don't need to do that every time I go out. I want an alternative that doesn't suck. And it involved me just going to the store, going to Whole Foods. I'm like, oh, I'll try this. I mean, it was as simple as that. Like, I knew I needed something different and something to pivot to, and I wanted it to taste good. Yeah, that's great. And that's so typical. Like, exactly. It's the same experience without the things that you really realize after a while. Yeah, I don't know if I need that every time. Sometimes it's great, but I don't know if I need this every time I go out. You're right. Yeah, it was fine when I was 22, but
here we are. Right. It's that cool anymore.
I wanted to talk about some of the individual beers, but I
Sure.
realized before we get there, we need to talk about the process, because this
Sure.
whole interview,
Yeah.
we're talking about the fact, Jeff, that this tastes like beer.
Yeah.
And it tastes legit and it tastes good.
Mm-hmm.
Science obviously has come around to NA beer. How do you do this?
Yeah. Well, and it's a great question, because I learned a lot too. I had to learn all of this exact stuff when I decided I'm going to try to make really good non-alcoholic beer. You had to learn that most of the beers up until that point are brewed, and some still to this day are brewed using a stop fermentation method. So at some point, beer's made where the yeast eats the sugars in the wort and alcohol is produced, and all of those sugars get eaten, and that produces the alcohol, and the beer tastes brewed. And what would happen with non-alcoholic beers, they would use these yeasts that wouldn't eat the sugars in the same way, and the worts would stay sweet, or they would not taste brewed. So many of the non-alcoholic beers that I came up with in the last 10 years are either very sweet, like they have a teaspoon of sugar put in them because the wort did not, it was still very sweet, or they would taste as if they weren't brewed. They had a B note, I like to say. And I think they didn't taste like beer. There was just something slightly off about them. And then if they were the major brewers, they probably weren't using the best ingredients. So that was also an issue. We ended up finding this machine in Munich. So I like to say that because between Munich and St. Louis, it's two, the great historical beer brewing towns in the world, right?
Yeah.
And it's called a vacuum distillation machine. And so what it ultimately does is it takes finished beer, so beer that has been completely fermented, that has the alcohol in it, and that means it's crisp, it's smooth, it's dry, it's everything you love about beer, and it puts it in a vacuum. So the other way you can make it is you can boil the alcohol off, but that ruins the beer. But
does that scald the beer? Does that?
Yep. Just like when you boil food, it would change the very nature of what that is. And it does that to beer. So you can't boil the alcohol off unless it's in a vacuum. So this vacuum distillation machine takes the beer, puts it in a vacuum, and you can lower the boiling temperature in this vacuum to about room temperature versus whatever it would normally boil at. And because you can lower the boiling temperature of the beer to about room temperature, you can distill the alcohol off basically without scalding the beer. So the beer that comes through this machine literally has all the characteristics. It's completely brewed. It tastes brewed. That's what I was always found ours versus others. There's no sharp edges. There's nothing about it. And the others ones have these sharp edges that just don't taste brewed. And that's what I think ours really do well. So yeah, the first time I tasted this off the machine 3-4 years ago, it was the golden wheat. It was the very light beer, and I was just like, this, it had tasted amazing, and I was like, wow, this is really good. So I knew we had something. So the beer just turns out to be really good, and then we ultimately capture a lot of the aromatics and reintroduce them into the product. So a lot of the scents are all there, the smells are there, the aroma, which has so much to do with it. When you open the craft beers, especially, and pour them in a glass, and all the scents, all of it's there. So the whole beer experience is there without the alcohol.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Technology.
It's amazing. Yeah. And it was this guy, I'll tell you who did it, is the head, and I can't remember his name, but in the 70s, he was the head professor at the Munich Beer School, like the brewing university of the world. If you wanted to go be a brewer, you went to this school in Munich, and he was the head guy there, and he invented this machine. So it is literally someone who, and beers, non-alcoholic beers in Germany are very good. They're probably, this market was big in Germany 5 years before it came here. It was a thing over there. It still is. So yeah, they make really good beers over there.
I mean, seriously, I'm just drinking this as we're talking. This is so good.
Oh, good.
I'm
glad you like it. Yeah. It's a very light, it's kind of a summery IPA. It's not heavy, but I think it's really, really nice. I think it's got a really nice flavor to it.
I love it after dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. This is great. So you got this machine from Munich. I'm guessing this isn't a competitive market. I'm guessing it's almost like a monopoly. Like you got to get your machine from that guy.
Yeah. There's 3 makers of these things, and they're very expensive. And I can see why no one had done it in the US. And I can see why no one in the craft beer industry had done this, because most brewers don't get into brewing to make non-alcoholic beer,
Right.
So if you
Right.
run a craft brewery, it's just not the brew side of it. You're like, yeah, that's not why I got into this, is to make NA beer. So it just, no one was doing it. We were the first ones in the US to bring one of these machines in, and probably are still one of the very few that's using this. There's lots of new ways to make it now that everyone's doing. And I think that, as everything, it's a little better, a little better, a little better. And yeah, so there's a lot of really interesting products out there. And then there's a lot of products that I would say market themselves as beers, but are lighter. They're more hop oils. There's lots of, and I don't think these are good or bad, but it's interesting, all the choices now that you have. It's sparkling hop oils and sparkling, all kinds of stuff that are in the world of beer, but they're may or may not be exactly this, but they're still interesting in their own way, and it's just cool. If you don't drink, there's just so many more interesting things to try, I guess is the point.
And from a business perspective, it is like an arms race at this point.
It is a little bit. I think we're still on the market's growing phase, but yes, you're right. There's lots of competition, which you knew was going to happen, and if it is, it is what it is. But I hope the market continues to grow, and at some point, you just, a person who doesn't drink, and as a person who has seen people's really powerful journeys when they discover sobriety on very small levels and very big levels, like it changes people's lives, even on the smallest level when they just cut back, or they really change their lives because they really needed to stop. And if we can be a part of that, I think that's awesome. That's just awesome. So I enjoy that part of it. And I enjoy seeing the stories and hearing about people who literally are different people a year after quitting drinking, or whatever. Even on the small levels, like I enjoy my life so much more. And I'm, they quit for a month and they decided that they didn't miss it. So good for you.
And that this next question is born of ignorance, and this may come off like that, but for people who are in recovery, for people who do need sobriety as a lifestyle, is it weird for them to have something that tastes so authentic? Is that a dangerous thing to keep that taste in their lives? I mean, I'm talking to someone who is 25 years sober, who created this company, but I don't know. Yeah. Is that a disconnect? Is that?
It's a really good question. It's not born of ignorance at all, and it's still a big discussion, I would say, in early recovery, especially like when you just get sober. Is this a tool or is this a trigger? And those are things that I think every individual person needs to figure out for themselves, what they're comfortable with. I would say I had non-alcoholic beer the second night, and went out with friends and drank some at a bar, and for me it was like, oh, this is going to be okay. I get 24 years old, I'm like, I'm still going to go out and music. I'm still going to go to bars at some point. I moved to Chicago when I was 8 months sober, and there's nothing to do there in Chicago. I lived there for 4 years, and it's the best town. I mean, it's the best. Live music, bars. That's just what you're doing. And you got to come to confirm. So for me, it was like, this is a tool. This is something, you can drink Cokes all night, or you can drink non-alcoholic beer, which doesn't have any sugar, no caffeine, nothing. I mean, it's just the best thing you can drink. So there's a lot of health benefits to it. It's an isotonic. It's amazing. It's a really amazing tonic when you take the alcohol out, how healthy the beer is for you. It's got polyphenols, all kinds of interesting things, just as it is. Having said all that, I think if at any moment you like this could be a trigger for you, then no, I would not risk my sobriety over this or not. It's not worth it. But it's a huge tool, and it just allows you to go and hang out and not feel so discombobulated at a bar, have anything to drink. You just can, I guess.
Yeah, because it is that ritual. Everyone's there, and everyone's got something in their hand, and this is awesome. All right, let's talk a little bit about these beers. Yeah. Going back to you discovering this magical machine in Munich that gave you a business, that enabled you to make beer without the alcohol in it. How much trial and error? Like, I guess my question is, how many mistakes did you make before getting some of these beers to market?
Yeah. We made, I would say first started, we had 2 or 3 that we put through the de-alc machine and just weren't good. One of them was, I remember distinctly, was a Newcastle-esque brown ale. Did not work out at all. I don't know why. And one of them was we tried an IPA early on, and we learned a lot about how to, which hops worked the best and which hops would go through the machine. And how to on the back end, really, is what you end up doing a lot, is hopping on the back end of this. So we learned a lot about that. But we got really lucky with that golden wheat and the dark amber. Both those went through, tasted great. And we started the business without having 10 beers to try. We got 2 hits right out of the gate that just were like, wow, these are really, really good. But yeah, we've had a few that just have like, yeah, no, this isn't good at all.
You mentioned the golden wheat. I have no golden wheat to hold up. Those were the first to go. I have my Well Being badge.
That was first, yep.
Because as the young kids say these days, they're highly crushable. Those are just
they are.
Those disappear quick.
Yeah, they do. They go down fast and go down easy.
They're a good gateway. But let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned it, the stout. When I see reviews of Well Being, this is the one, like the snobs really seem into. Like you struck a nerve with that crew.
Yeah. So it's a coffee, and I love coffee, and I just like, it's one of my favorite things. So when I would see people at the bars, I never really want to drink alcohol, but I've always wanted to taste a Guinness. I've been to Ireland. I'd seen it poured. I'd seen the ritual. I was like, I'm not going to drink it, but I'm like, oh, I just want to taste it. It just looks amazing. And then you go and see these new stouts, and people, it's coffee stouts, and, all the spices that are being mixed into stouts. And it was just, that specific beer made me jealous. It made me crazy. So that was our 3rd beer, and I'm like, let's do coffee stout. This one has nutmeg, cinnamon. It's basically like tea. They make a tea with the nutmeg, the cinnamon, and the cloves, and they put it in the thing. So it's got this really great these spices on it that go so well with coffee. And we add a little lactose, so it's not vegan. It's definitely got a little cream, but it's half the calories of the alcohol of this. And it's, to me, just a really delicious. It really does that. It's great. It's great in an ice cream float. It's great as a weight beer. I've had it for breakfast, late at night, whatever, but it's a really nice beer.
It's great for the holidays too.
Yeah, you're
this
right.
is a good one to have around for the holiday season. If you're entertaining, this is it.
Yep.
Awesome after dinner or before. It's just awesome. You don't need a specific time of day. It's just, like you said, you could theoretically have it for breakfast. I mean, really, there's coffee in it and cloves. I mean, come on.
There's coffee in it. Yeah. That's funny.
The Victory Wheat we talked about. This is the sports brew. This is, if you do drink, this is perhaps the one to end your night with, because as you mentioned, the electrolytes, this will help you toward a better wake up in the morning. This is a helper beer.
Yep. It's
good.
Yeah. No, it was funny. One of my favorite brands, I worked on this as a marketer, was Michelob Ultra. I don't know if you've obviously seen Michelob Ultra, but as a brand, I love it because it knows who it is. It's a sport, it's people working and they drink Michelob Ultra. And to me, the one thing you didn't want in all of that was the alcohol, but you wanted the Gatorade part of it. So to me, this was the perfect solution of, it's got everything you want in the Gatorade and Michelob Ultra without the 2 things you don't want: the sugar, the added colors, and the alcohol. It's the beer with the electrolytes.
Let's have the IPA conversation. We have the intentional and we have the going places. For the IPA drinker, for the casual drinker, what's the difference?
Yeah, and have you tasted both of them?
Yes,
you have. And what would you say about?
See, I don't speak beer language very well. I can't talk to you about, I can't talk hop talk. I can tell you that Going Places is lighter. It's got that, maybe it's fruitier. The Well Being feels a little heavier. And again, I'm terrible at describing this stuff. So help me out.
That's exactly right. You've totally said that. That is exactly right. I would say the intentional is has a little more mouthfeel. It's got a little lactose in it too, so it's got a little more mouthfeel. It's a little heavier tasting. It's got a little sharper hops. I would say almost piney, some pineapple citrus on the back end. But it's a very what people tell me is it's a very West Coast IPA. So that's what it tastes like. The one we made, the Going Places, I think is much lighter. It's got more of a buttery apricot fruit citrus to it, and I don't think it's got as sharp a hops. So it's a really nice. Some people really love super hoppy, and we're looking at doing one of those. Like a really. I don't know if you've had just a big hop beer, and to me, you can have one of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think but I think both of these turned out really, really nice. It's fun to kind of try them both because I think they offer both different things. You described it very well.
Thank you.
You did a very good job.
But for people who look at the IPA and just, I don't know which one I'm going to like. I mean, that's it. It's one's heavier, one's lighter and more summery. I mean, you said that in the beginning. The Hellraiser, again, the dark amber beer for people who think they don't like dark amber beers. This is it. This is delicious.
It'll surprise you how good it is. I agree. It's just spicy enough. It's a little citrusy. And then that amber base, for some reason, all of it together really, really works beautifully together. It really is. It's a nice beer.
And I hope that people who are watching or listening are realizing, I mean, non-alcoholic beer has arrived. I mean, this is it. I mean, the Well Being product line, this is great stuff. And there's something for everyone here.
Yeah,
moms, dads, older kids. No, I love what you're doing. And can you talk a little bit about the mission before I cut you loose? The mission of Well Being.
Yeah, it's funny. You just helping the world drink a little less was always a nice mission to start with, because I think alcohol, and we're not against alcohol at all. I worked in the business for years. It's a wonderful business. I love connecting. I love going to live music. I love all this. I love everything about the industry, for sure. On the flip side, alcohol does cause a lot of health problems. There's a lot of people, it just does. So helping the world drink a little less is always a great mission. But I never want to sound too preachy, but I think, and my personal journey, and I'm sure you are on one of these too. You're a human being, and we always try to become a better version of ourselves, I guess, right? We have one life. You learn a lot. You realize that there's a way of living that feels right to you, and it's got a lot of spiritual give back, whatever, selfless, not so self-centered. That journey is, people call it well-being. We want a journey to well-being is what we're all trying to do. And so I think beyond just helping people not drink a little less on that level, I think our mission has been to help people on that journey. We had a mental, last May, we launched a beer that was for people in the industry who were dealing with the pandemic, and a lot of people in the bartending and the service industry, which was a big thing that we liked. Those people were under a lot of jobless and all the things that happened during the pandemic. So there was a lot of mental health issues. That's something that I think we really get behind. This year, earlier, we did a sober sex initiative and party, and started talking about a lot of things beyond that. So I think for us, and just my background with the recovery side and the 12 steps and the journey that you walk, I think that's what it is for me, an interesting part about doing this is meeting those people, creating these events, showing people it's totally, there's no stigma to this.
Right.
It's all good. And doing it this way as you know, and we're just getting started, I guess. So yes, I appreciate you asking about that. And it's great to meet people like you. Like, I'm so excited about this ambassador program because it's just been really fun. And we just kind of started that too. So if there's anyone out there listening, you know, hit us up.
And the stigma is easier to knock out when there's product that people want to consume. The product's got to be there to help get rid of the stigma. I mean, this is delicious stuff. So congrats on what you've accomplished so far. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm obviously clearly a fan. And it's just, whether you're in recovery, whether, you know, that's the journey you're on, or whether you just want some balance when you're socializing, or you just want to have a cold beverage, this is it. This is a great way to do it. So I'm going to have you stay on the line with me for 1 second as I wrap up.
You'll be surprised how good they are. I agree.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. That right there, that's Jeff Stevens. Well Being is the non-alcoholic beer we're talking about. wellbeingbrewing.com.